Radio Raheem here with Abel Sanchez. We're at Wild Card West, but we know you train there up on the hill in the snow now.
Yes.
You know, Danny Jacobs and Triple G have gotten the fight fans interested. This seems to be a fight that guys are really, debating if this is going to be his toughest fight yet. Has it been his toughest camp yet?
All camps are tough. Danny is not any different than Curtis, and Curtis is not any different than Lemieux. I think that if we lose this one, it doesn't matter about the future, right? So we have to make sure that we're 100% prepared, and he's doing exactly what he's done in the past, coming to camp at 170, working the same way. So we're 3 weeks away from the fight, 2 more weeks of sparring. I think we should be ready.
The sparring, how big is that a factor in this fight? Like we talked about when the fight got announced, there were some things that you could clean up, some things you could look at that you learned from with the Brook fight. Is the sparring a huge part of this camp, more so than before, and how is it changing? How is it helping him?
Oh, not necessarily the sparring. Daniel is the big part of this fight. Daniel presents a challenge that Golovkin hasn't had in a while. Mental challenge that he hasn't had in a while. Daniel is a heck of a fighter, so because of that, the sparring has been more intense. The sparring has been more upbeat. The sparring has been like it used to be. Like say when we fought Lemieux, when we fought Curtis, for a couple fights there, we had a letdown. Because there wasn't no challenge for him, and you could see it in him. You could see the frustration in him that he wasn't fighting the guys that he wanted to fight. The fights that all the guys were just talking, the fights weren't there. But I think Daniel now puts that fear, a fear of the anticipation of the unknown, having that punching power and being as crafty and as talented as he is. It's going to be a good fight.
Benavidez, which we know is one of his sparring partners, and he's a hell of a fighter in his own right. What does he bring to the camp, and how does Triple G learn from mixing it up with him?
Well, I put in David first because we want to make sure that we're prepared for the rush. Daniel's people may be thinking that to rush Gennady is their best option. And David, being the kind of fighter that he is, he's got fast hands, he's got great power, great movement, difficult to hit. So those first 4 rounds with David really set the pace for the rest of the sparring, and they're going to set the pace in the fight too. David should be champion this year, and if he's not, it's because nobody wants to fight him, because he's a heck of a prospect, heck of a fighter.
You talked about a fast pace, a fast start. Danny Jacobs, at least in his last fight, showed that he can start pretty quick. And Triple G sometimes likes to let a guy get into his rhythm and then come on. We've seen that from him before. Are you trying to change that element? Are you looking for, even if Jacobs doesn't push the action, is Triple G going to push the action?
Well, not trying to change that, but his coaches, and fortunately for me, I have a guy that doesn't question anything. You know, he asks nothing. He just does what he's told, and the reason that I brought David in was for that fact. That I wanted to use him first. I wanted him to go out and rush Gennady. I wanted him to go out and throw a lot of punches right off the bat, so that mentally, not that we're planning for that, but mentally Gennady's aware of what can happen early in the round. So David's working out exactly like I had thought.
Now, usually you give us a little bit more mitt work. We see, a few rounds. This time he had some thudding shots on the shield. I mean, everybody felt that vibration. You always say you're preparing for a 12-round fight, but the smile on his face and this shield shots look like you're just looking to drop Jacobs. Do you think his chin is suspect in a way that gives Triple G even a greater advantage?
No, I don't think his chin is suspect. I think that when he got knocked down by Pirog, I think that Robert held him down. He had his eyes closed up until 5, and then all of a sudden he feels like Robert put his hand on him. He opens his eyes and he says he's ready. So I don't think he was out. I thought he got knocked down. He was hurt, but he could have continued. That we're looking for a quick knockout, no, but we're looking to make sure that we go back to the Golovkin that fought Stevens, go back to the Golovkin that fought Lemieux, go back to that guy that's just putting pain on his opponent, making sure that he's not in a brawl, he's not in a street fight, but he's in a fight where he's landing some hard shots to make sure that it's appreciated.
When Triple G gets to New York and steps in that ring, looks across and sees Danny Jacobs, that bell rings. What's the first thing you want on his mind? What do you want him to be thinking?
I want him to be thinking that he's going to land a jab right off the bat. I want him to think that he's going to land one shot, and I want to see the expression on Danny's face when he knows he's got to go 12 rounds after that. But the most important thing is I want him to understand that Danny is who we've been talking about. Danny is a heck of a fighter, so don't take him lightly.
And lastly, we cannot until this fight happens, ever interview anybody in either one of your camps without talking Triple G Canelo. Obviously, he's ramping up for a fight as well. And we know that Benavidez has already said that he's going to go ahead and train in Canelo's camp. Have you had any discussion about him, about state secrets, if you will, or not?
What we do in the gym, Canelo's doing the same thing. We're not going to see nothing different. If let's just say they fought in September. There's no way that Eddie and Chepo can change something from now to September to surprise us. We do basically the same things. Boxing coaches basically do the same things. There's only eight different punches, man. There's only 8 different punches, different way of throwing them, but there's only 8 different punches, and they're going to get ready physically and mentally. Like we're going to get ready physically and mentally. Right now we're preparing for Jacobs. Hopefully everything goes okay and Chavez doesn't pull a surprise on us and beats Canelo. But if both guys win, I hope it happens in September. I really do. We've talked about it long enough.
One thing they are going to change is his weight. He's obviously officially coming in much heavier than he's fought before, at least 10 pounds, and kind of skipping a weight division, if you will, even though he's making up his own. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think Chavez is a good preparation fight for Triple G? And what do you think about him taking that big weight, stepping up to, I guess, 65, and then coming back down to 60, like playing these kind of games?
I don't think that Chavez and Golovkin have the same kind of style. Maybe the coming forward style they have, but they're 2 different fighters. Golovkin is a lot more skilled than Chavez is. Chavez is very durable, as Golovkin has shown as he is, but I think that the fight with Chavez for Canelo is a business fight. Just like we talked about fighting Froch in Wembley, 80,000 people. I think they're going to both make a lot of money, and it's important that fighters do what is necessary to secure their future. And this fight will do that for Canelo. That he's fighting at 64, I think that 64, he probably won't come in at 64. I would say he comes in a little lighter than that at weigh-in time. Chavez is the one that I'm concerned with, not really coming in at the weight. But no, it's a great fight for boxing. It's a great fight for Mexico. I think that the winner is going to be the uncrowned champion over there, the fighter that everybody looks up to. Right now, people are divided because of Chavez's style and the father senior, and Canelo's a great fighter, so they're undecided on which one to support. But I think this fight will really show them who their warrior is.
What kind of chance do you give Chavez, and what would he have to do to win?
The first thing that he has to do is make sure that he doesn't struggle making a 64.5-pound limit. If he's around the limit the week of the fight, let's just say a couple pounds, then he has a great chance. I think that if that is done, I think he scares Canelo a couple times. He scares Oscar a couple times, but I think that Canelo's speed will win the fight. I think the Canelo's speed and footwork and combinations will win the fight, but he will get scared.
I'll see you in a couple weeks in New York. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Always learn something. Radio Raheem with Abel Sanchez.